Sup nerds, I'm Wes.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Aaron.
Today we're taking a look at Clank, a deck building adventure by Renegade Game Studios.
Ooh, I flipped it. I did the flip.
As the name states, it is a deck building adventure. So you are building your deck as you adventure through this cavernous abyss of a playboard thing.
Yep, that's what it's verbatim from the back of the box.
So it's tunnels throughout a castle and then beneath the castle.
I think we got what we need.
So as you're adventuring around, you're kind of pressing your luck on how long you stay down in these caverns, collecting the artifacts and collecting, more cards and, just getting more points. Like, how long can you stay down there? If somebody rushes down and then rushes up and, kind of rushes the end game, then you don't have long and you can't really press on.
Yeah, so I like how you use the term press your luck. I think a slightly more, accurate term would be to use the word risk, because you're taking an awful lot of risks. Like, I think, when I think of a press your luck game, think about, Flip City or Mystic Vale, or where you're saying, ooh, I could stop right now, or I could draw this one more card, and if I bust, I lose everything I've gotten. And that is part of this game. There is definitely this, I could go all the way down to the bottom and try and get the 30, but I might not make it back up. So yes, that's accurate. But with every single move you make in here, there's a lot of inherent risks. There's there's making Clank, which means you could die faster. Mm-hmm. There's hitting the monsters, where you could take damage. There's buying the wrong kind of cards, so that you could be like, oh, I'm going to buy these healing cards, and then they don't come up in the right order that you need them to. There's the Crystal Caverns things. There's when you hit into the things, they flip up, so you could get money or you could get purchasing power. Which is two different things. There's actually money and gold and skill. And skill, yeah.
There's four resources in this game,
ultimately,
which is interesting.
Yeah, or currencies or whatever. So while it is mostly has a bunch of press your luck, really what I feel when I'm playing this is that there's so much risk, is that I'm just risking it all to do, because even then it's not even press my luck, I'm going to go all the way down there and come back. I could get I'm totally fine, and then Aaron goes, nope, screw you guys, I'm ending the game right now, and bolt back up. So there's so many variables floating up in the air with this game.
I think of risk and pressure luck as essentially the same thing. So I think they're just arguing a little potato. Mm-hmm. But it would make more sense if you guys saw off camera when they spent the last half hour discussing this. And I think that the whole getting up first versus staying down and getting more points is really interesting, because typically I found if you just get a couple points and rush out, that's not really a winning strategy, because when I was playing Aaron, I tried that. And it was a two-player game, so I think the two-player games do work a little bit differently. There's a little bit, honestly, less risk, because there's less times the dragon's coming up. There's less, when we were playing a 3 or I'm assuming a 4-player game too, where you're okay, if I can just get one more turn, I finally got my move, and you have to go through 3 turns of people buying cards and dragons coming up, especially because you have people that are have 1 cube on the health track and you have 7, and oh, I don't care about cards, I just want to buy as many as I can to kill you, which is what happened to me. So Aaron just said, okay, well, you got the 20 points for coming out, so all I need to do is stay right at the level of below above ground and get more than 20 points, and it doesn't matter that you left first, because I can get more points than you and die right on that line as long as I'm above ground and be fine.
Still calculate the points.
Yeah, so you do have a limited number of rounds, but as long as your health isn't too terrible and there's still plenty of points to gather in that area, then I guess that's something you have to be aware of if you're trying to run out really quick. Mm-hmm. That the only time you'd really want to do that is if your health is almost gone.
Or if your opponent's health is almost gone.
Yeah.
If you can't, and the idea that you can trigger end game, so to speak, whenever you want. She's screw you guys, I'm gonna whether this is a good decision or a bad decision, I'm gonna trigger the countdown clock right now.
One strategy I feel that always pays off, if you can get the move silently card early in the game and constantly remove your Clank from the board, that really helps you with surviving and being able to move around and use some of there's other cards that you use them that give you Clank, or just having your stumble cards, having that move silently really negates if you use it at the right time. If you if somebody just did the dragon and there's nothing in the Clank area and you play that, you're kind of like, dang.
But it's still 2 move, which is great.
Yeah, so movement and that card, like, it's such a powerful card. Like, I feel like if you see that card, you have to buy it. Like,
there's definitely a couple cards that are like, if you can buy it, there's like, you're an idiot if you don't. There's obviously that one. Really, any card that eliminates cards from your deck or lets you discard cards from your hand without playing them, because interesting, this game that Tom always is something that he always kind of messes with when you first start playing, is that you, like most deck builders, you're like, and that's, I'm going to play these 3 cards, and either hold these or just discard by hand. You have to play everything with those stumble cards. You can't, like, I'm just not going to play this. But if you have a card that lets you discard, then you can. So, like, things like that are powerful, or things that let you cull cards from your deck, which there's not a ton in this game.
Master Burglar is the big one.
Yeah, Master Burglar, and there's a couple that let you get rid of any card, which is a great way to get rid of those stumble cards that are so powerful because there's so few and far in between, to get rid of those weaker cards to really help your deck not just get good cards, but make those good cards come up more often.
There definitely is something to be said about knowing that deck pretty well. Because, you know, and I've actually said this before, where I don't think Clank would be a great intro game for a deck builder, right? So some deck builders I do use as an intro game, because it actually, there's, you know, first of all, because it just gets so sick, we're like, oh, let's play King of Tokyo or whatever, you know? But, like, it introduces the idea that cards have a cost. It introduces the idea of, like, mitigating your probability, because it's like, oh, well, I could draw this card right now, you know? And it really, and it teaches people combos and a lot of good things in deck builders, you know, that will really help somebody get into the hobby. Clank, however, is, pardon my French, a little bit clunkier than some other deck.
Clunkier?
Clanky, I don't know why I said pardon my French. That's not a swear word.
I was gonna say, this game is way than the rest of them.
The fact that there, like we were saying, there's essentially like 4 currencies, really. I mean, 5 if you count points. There's like, because there's on the cards themselves, there's the skill, attack, combat, movement, points, and coins.
And Clank.
And Clank. So there's 6 different things that can be on a card that, like, you have to know what, in-game terminology, you have to know what it means. So while I wouldn't recommend this for people new to the hobby, new players to this game, you still have to be like, well, listen, there's not a lot of cards that can call things out of your hand. So if you're used to that from Star Realms, know that that's not in there. Know that movement is really important.
So important.
One really cool thing about the board in this game is the fact that it's double-sided.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and both sides are entirely different in the way that you move. Like Tom was pointing out, on this side of the board, it's actually like you're funneled. There's only like one way to get out. The other side, there's a lot less of the arrows, but the market is like really confined to one spot, so everybody can get to the market easily. This one, it's spread out, so you know, if you decide to go to the left, there's a market over there. You decide to go to the right, there's a market over there. So like, I feel like this side is a little geared towards, okay, everybody can gear up and you go to the market and, you know, try and buy the bag or try and buy the crowns and stuff. Just buy the stuff that you want to help you explore, or you know, you flip it on the other side, it's like, okay, you have to go to the middle to get to that, but it's a little easier to move around. Like the arrows, the wrap around the board is lower on the board, it's underground, and you can move. It's nice that they did that. Instead of just giving you one like board or a modular board that would add way too much to it, this is just like, okay, here it is, and you can flip it over and there's another board.
So it almost like funnels you just in different ways in different places.
I would say the other side, the blue side on the top here, this is for people's first game. Daylight is people's first game, but when you want to get dark, sunset, sunrise, whatever. I flipped it, it's whatever. That is the other one. Yeah, but you are right in that probably one of the problems that I had with Tyrants of the Underdark, which is kind of going to segue me into another point that I have about it's similar, right?
Yeah.
It's a deck building game that involves a board. Here you're dungeon delving, and there you're area controlling. But the fact that that board is the same every single time, and then when they came out with an expansion, all they did was just more cards, which I guess is good. Like the idea that first of all 2 boards come in this box, and all the expansions are pretty much just board expansions with some extra mechanics. Like I'm really commending them for being able to kind of widening the berth on your options for this game. But that being said, like, okay, you very well may be watching and saying, okay, it's just another deck building game. Sure, it has a board, but it's another deck building game. I played Ascension recently. Like, I already own Legendary and DC and Star Realms, and like we have Hero Realms and all that, right? So, but I played Ascension recently, and I said, wow, you know, nothing wrong with this game. It's not a bad game, but this doesn't offer me anything different from Legendary and DC and all those others to justify me purchasing this in addition to it. And if I had owned Ascension first and I played Legendary, I'd be like, well, I already own everything for Ascension, so why would I get Legendary? This absolutely does not fall into that same category. It is yes, another deck building game, and you get all that nostalgia of playing like, okay, I know how I need to call cards, and I know what I need to do. But it is such a good twist on deck building that I would obviously recommend you have this in addition to, even if you have every other deck builder out there.
So with this being a deck builder that you should definitely have in addition to your other deck builders, I think that does kind of get into that. This is one of those games that, because it's been out for a little while, I've heard so many good things about it. It was like on my like short list of like, yeah, eventually I should pick this game up. Maybe not. Like we'll get around to it. Maybe they'll send us a copy of it. Who knows? Like, it wasn't like a priority for me, but it was always kind of in the back of my mind of like, yeah, eventually I'll get that. And it's really one of those that I'm like, how did it take me this long to play this game? Because it's good. This is going to be, I think this is going to be one of the staple games for our groups for a little while. And especially with like the expansions coming out, and Clank and Space comes in tomorrow, and like there's enough different things for us to try that we're going to be playing this game for a good long while, which forever.
Well, I know why it took me so long to play it is because I did that. It's another deck building game. Yeah, sure. I'm certain it's different. I'm certain, but you know what? Tyrants of the Underdark is different, and I already have that. Like I'm a big enough man to admit when I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
I wasn't wrong this time. But
I'm actually also kind of saddened that it took me this long to play it because I really love deck builders. They're one of my favorite type of games. And I might say that this is probably my favorite deck builder now. Like, I really like the fact that, like, you're moving around and pressing your luck and, like, the whole
taking
cutthroat. Taking risks, the cutthroat, like, there's the card that you give Clank to other players, like, make them make noise. Like, there's just, it's fun. And you're just, like, delving through this dungeon.
Well, plus, it's the deck builder that you've played the most recently. Yeah, therefore, it's your favorite.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you said that when we played Tyrants of the Underdark, too.
So I will, one last question for you with that, though. With Tom owning Clank and me owning Clank in Space, do you think you're going to end up picking up a copy of one of those?
I'll just wait till the third one comes out.
Clank and the butts.
I mean, there you go. But it's with that, you still like want one of these on your shelf.
Yeah, I still want one. After playing all of them, I'll decide.
Yeah. Like that's a testament to how great this game is. I agree. I think that this is a game that belongs in every game group. And if you're a game group that doesn't like just play just with each other, but you have like other friends you play with or family members or whatever, then like this is a game that belongs on multiple shelves even within that game group. And the fact that there is Clank and Clanking Space and different expansions opens up that you can have different ones amongst the group, but you all have a version of this game. It's a fantastic deck builder. I really like the movement aspect in the deck building. That's like, okay, typically you're like, I want purchasing and I want fighting, and you kind of want to balance those. We have to balance that third resource and then get money to buy the market. When you talk about the market, it's super cool that there's like things you have to go down and buy with that kind of uncommon resource of money. You can get a lot, but you have to like almost try to get it.
Or fight for it, like fighting goblins.
Yeah, but there's like, if you're playing especially a bigger player game, if you're playing a 4-player game, there's only 2 keys. So it is kind of a fight to see who can get the keys first. Or the crowns that like whoever buys the first one's 10 points, then 9 points and 8 points. So you're kind of like trying to who can get the better crown. It's just, there's so many different facets of this game that just blend together so nicely that make it just, it's great. You should check it out.
I agree with Aaron that this is probably one of the best deck builders I've ever played. It's definitely in heavy competition with Star Realms and Tyrants and Legendary. Well, okay, I will also say that.
Deck builders.
No. It's definitely far superior to like, DC and
Other
right.
games.
It's definitely better than those. But I will agree with Aaron that I do think deck building is probably one of my favorite mechanics. I think deck building, worker placement, and probably drafting are like my three like favorite, or at least the ones that I play the most. So sitting down to a deck building game, I always feel like I have the most experience. Like that, talking about culling and the significance of these certain resources over the other ones, and the risk that you take. Again, moving into the Crystal Caverns, I won't be able to move, but hey, maybe this big secret will be worth it. That I came into Clank thinking I already know what a deck builder is, and I came out of Clank saying I don't even know what that was. As you can probably tell, I absolutely love Clank. I think we all do. I don't think this is one of the few games where we don't even differ on like opinions of aspects of this game. Like we are
risk versus
other than that terminology thing, like we are all like all three of us are all in on this game. It's absolutely wonderful. If you like deck builders, or if you think you're gonna like deck builders, I mean, I guess I don't fully recommend that this be your first one. I would say probably like Star Realms or the DC deck builders, you should get those first. Or if you're adventurous enough, hey, go ahead and let this be your first deck builder. We're gonna have a purchase link to this game in the description box down below.
While you're down there, like this video if you liked it, and subscribe so you'll never be bored. Do you guys hate me?
A little bit.
So much.